Sienna God, hello all. Osha Sahi, good evening, and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 15, part A of reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, an Inquiry into Values by Robert M. Pirsig. Getting a little bit of a late start this evening. Anyway, yesterday I was dealing with a migraine. It just happens sometimes. Anyway, moving on. Now, there was an alternative explanation. People disagreed about quality because some just used their immediate emotions, whereas others applied their overall knowledge. He knew that in any popularity contest among English teachers, this latter argument, which bolstered their authority, would win overwhelming endorsement. But this argument was completely devastating. Instead of one single uniform quality, now there appeared to be two qualities, a romantic one, just seeing, which the students had, and a classic one, overall understanding, which the teachers had. A hip one and a square one. Squareness was not the absence of quality. It was classic quality. Hipness was not just presence of quality. It was mere romantic quality. The hip square cleavage he'd discovered was still there, but quality didn't now seem to fall entirely on one side of the cleavage, as he had previously supposed. Instead, quality itself cleaved into two kinds, one on each side of the cleavage line. His simple, neat, beautiful, undefined quality was starting to get complex. He didn't like the way this was going. The cleavage term that was going to unify the classic and romantic ways of looking at things had itself been cleaved into two parts and could no longer unify anything. It had been caught in an analytic meat grinder. The knife of subjectivity and objectivity had cut quality into two and killed it as a working concept. If he was going to save it, he couldn't let that knife get it. And really, the quality he was talking about wasn't classic quality or romantic quality. It was beyond both of them. And by God, it wasn't subjective or objective either. It was beyond both of those categories. Actually, this whole dilemma of subjectivity, objectivity, of mind-matter with relationship to quality was unfair. That mind-matter relationship has been an intellectual hang-up for centuries. They were just putting that hang-up on top of quality to drag quality down. How could he say whether quality was mind or matter when there was no logical clarity as to what was mind and what was matter in the first place? And so he rejected the left horn. Quality is not objective, he said. It doesn't reside in the material world. Then he rejected the right horn. Quality is not subjective, he said. It doesn't reside merely in the mind. And finally, Phaedrus, following a path that to his knowledge had never been taken before in the history of Western thought, went straight between the horns of the subjectivity-objectivity dilemma and said quality is neither a part of mind nor is it a part of matter. It is a third entity which is independent of the two. He was heard along the corridors and up and down the stairs of Montana Hall, singing softly to himself almost underneath his breath, "Holy, holy, holy, blessed Trinity." And there is a faint fragment of memory, possibly wrong, possibly just something I'm imagining, that says he just let the whole thought structure sit like that for weeks without carrying it any further. Chris shouts, "When are we going to get to the top?" "Probably quite a way yet," I reply. "Will we see a lot?" "I think so. Look for blue sky between the trees. As long as we can't see sky, we know it's a way yet. The light will come through the trees when we round the top." Last night's rain had soaked the soft duff of needles sufficiently to make them good walking. Sometimes when it's really dry on a slope like this, they'll become slippery and you have to dig your feet into them edgewise or you'll slide down. I say to Chris, "Isn't it great when there's no underbrush like this?" "Why isn't there any?" he asks. "I think this area must never have been logged. When a forest is left alone like this for centuries, the trees shut out all the underbrush." "It's like a park," Chris says. "You can sure see all around." His mood seems much better than yesterday. I think he'll be a good traveler from here on. This forest silence improves anyone. The world now, according to Phaedrus, was composed of three things: mind, matter, and quality. The fact that he had established no relationship between them didn't bother him at first. If the relationship between mind and matter had been fought over for centuries and wasn't yet resolved. Why should he, in a matter of a few weeks, come up with something conclusive about quality? So he let it go. He put it up on a kind of mental shelf where he puts all kinds of questions he had no immediate answers for. He knew the metaphysical trinity of subject, object, and quality would sooner or later have to be interrelated, but he was in no hurry about it. It was just so satisfying to be beyond the danger of those horns that he relaxed and enjoyed it as long as he could. Eventually, however, he examined it more closely. Although there's no logical objection to a metaphysical trinity, a three-headed reality, such trinities are not common or popular. The metaphysician normally seeks either a monism, such as God, which explains the nature of world as a manifestation of a single thing, or he seeks a dualism, such a mind matter which explains it as two things, or he leaves it as pluralism, which explains it as a manifestation of an indefinite number of things. But 3 is an awkward number. Right away you want to know, why 3? What's the relationship among them? And as the need for relaxation diminished, Phaedrus became curious about this relationship too. He noted that although normally you associate quality with objects, feelings of quality sometimes occur without any object at all. This is what led him at first to think that maybe quality is all subjective. But subjective pleasure wasn't what he meant by quality either. Quality decreases subjectivity. Quality takes you out of yourself, makes you aware of the world around you. Quality is opposed to subjectivity. I don't know how much thought passed before he arrived at this, but eventually he saw that quality couldn't be independently related with either the subject or the object, but could be found only in the relationship of the two with each other. It is the point at which subject and object meet. That sounded warm. Quality is not a thing, it is an event. Warmer. It is the event at which the subject becomes aware of the object. And because without objects, there can be no subject. Because the objects create the subject's awareness of himself. Quality is the event at which awareness of both subjects and objects is made possible. Hot. Now he knew it was coming. This means quality is not just the result of a collision between subject and object. The very existence of subject and object themselves is deduced from the quality event. The quality event is the cause of the subjects and objects, which are then mistakenly presumed to be the cause of the quality. Now he had that whole danged evil dilemma by the throat. He didn't say danged. Anyway, let's see. I lost my spot because I was like looking at my hair like, oh my gosh. Woo! Right? Anyway, I just had no whatever to do it. So this is just how it is. It is what it is. It will be done tomorrow. Today is a recovery day from migraine yesterday. Hang on, I'm going to pause it right quick and find my spot. Found it. The dilemma all the time had this unseen vile presumption in it for which there was no logical justification. The quality was the effect of subjects and objects. It was not. He brought out his knife. The sun of quality, he wrote, does not revolve around the subjects and objects of our existence. It does not just passively illuminate them. It is not subordinate to them in any way. It has created them. They are subordinate to it. And at that point, when he wrote that, he knew he had reached some kind of culmination of thought he had been unconsciously striving for over a long period of time. Blue sky, shouts Chris. There it is, way above us, a narrow patch of blue through the trunks of the trees. We move faster and the patches of blue become larger and larger through the trees. And soon we see that the trees thin out to a bare spot at the summit. When the summit is about 50 yards away, I say, let's go, and start to dash for it, throwing into the effort all the reserves of energy I've been saving. I give it everything I have, but Chris gains on me. Then he passes me, giggling. With the heavy load and high altitude, we're not setting any records. But now we're just charging up with all we have. Chris gets there first while I just break out of the trees. He raises his arms and shouts, the winner! Egotist. I'm breathing so hard. When I arrive, I can't speak. We just drop our packs from our shoulders and lie down against some rocks. The crust of the ground is dry from the sun, but underneath is mud from last night's rain. Below us and miles away beyond the forested slopes and the fields beyond them is the Gallatin Valley. Gallatin Valley. At one corner of the valley is Bozeman. A grasshopper jumps up from the rock and soars down and away from us over the trees. We made it, Chris says. He is very happy. I am still too winded to answer. I take off my boots and socks, which are soggy with sweat, and set them out to dry on a rock. I stare at them meditatively as vapors from them rise up toward the sun. Yeah. Chapter 20. Evidently, I've slept. The sun is hot. My watch says a few minutes before noon. I look over the rock I'm leaning against and see Chris sound asleep on the other side. Way up above him, the forest stops and barren gray rock leads into patches of snow. We can climb the back of this ridge straight up there, but it would be dangerous toward the top. I look up at the top of the mountain for a while. What was it Chris said I told him last night? I'll see you at the top of the mountain? No, I'll meet you at the top of the mountain. How could I meet him at the top of the mountain when I'm already with him? Something's very strange about that. He said I told him something else too the other night, that it's lonely here. That contradicts what I actually believe. I don't think it's lonely here at all. The sound of falling rock draws my attention over to one side of the mountain. Nothing moves, completely still. That's all right. You hear little rock slides like this all the time. Not so little sometimes, though. Avalanches start with little slides like that. If you're above them or beside them, they're interesting to watch. But if they're above you, no help then. You just have to watch it come. People say strange things in their sleep, but why would I tell him I'll meet him? And why would he think I was awake? There's something really wrong here that produces a very bad quality feeling, but I don't know what it is. First you get the feeling, then you figure out why. I hear Chris move and turn and see him look around. Where are we? He asks. Top of the ridge. Oh, he says. He smiles. I break open a lunch of Swiss cheese, pepperoni, and crackers. I cut up the cheese, and then the pepperoni in careful, neat slices. The silence allows you to do each thing right. Let's build a cabin here, he says. Oh, I groan. And climb up to it every day? Sure, he teases. That wasn't hard. Yesterday is long ago in his memory. Oh my God. Oh, but like half of the time he didn't even have to carry a pack or something? Oh no, that's crazy. Yeah, it wouldn't seem hard, would it? Anyway, I pass some cheese and crackers over to him. What are you always thinking about? He asks. Thousands of things, I answer. What? Most of them wouldn't make any sense to you. Like what? Like why I told you I'd meet you at the top of the mountain. Oh, he says and looks down. You said I sounded drunk, I tell him. No, not drunk, he says, still looking down. The way he looks away from me makes me wonder all over again if he's telling the truth. How then? He doesn't answer. How then, Chris? Just different. How? Well, I don't know. He looks up at me and there's a flicker of fear. Like you used to sound a long time ago, he said, and then looks down. When? When we lived here. I keep my face composed so that he sees no change of expression in it. Then carefully get up and go over and methodically turn the socks on the rock. They've dried long ago. As I return with them, I see his glance is still on me. Casually, I say, I didn't know I sounded different. He doesn't reply to this. I put the socks on a slip and slip the boots over them. I'm thirsty, Chris says. We shouldn't have too far to go down to find water, I say, standing up. I look at the snow for a while, then say, you ready to go? He nods and we get the packs on. As we walk along the summit toward the beginning of a ravine, we hear another clattering sound of falling rock, much louder than the first one I heard just a while ago. I look up to see where it is. Still nothing. What was that? Chris asks. Rock slide. We both stand still for a moment, listening. Chris asks, is there somebody up there? No, I think it's just melting snow that's loosening stones. When it's really hot like this, in the early part of the summer, you hear a lot of small rock slides, sometimes big ones. It's part of the wearing down of the mountains. I didn't know mountains wore out. Not wore out, wore down. They get rounded and gentle. These mountains are still unworn. Everywhere around us now, except above the sides of the mountain are covered with blackish green of the forest. In the distance, the forest looks like velvet. I say, you look at these mountains now, and they look so permanent and peaceful, but they're changing all the time. And the changes aren't always peaceful. Underneath us, beneath us here right now, there are forces that can tear this whole mountain apart. Do they ever? Ever what? Tear the whole mountain apart? Yes, I say. Then I remember not far from here, there are 19 people lying dead under millions of tons of rock. Everyone was amazed there were only 19. What happened? They were just tourists from the east who had stopped for the night at a campground. During the night, the underground forces broke free, and when the rescuers saw what had happened the next morning, they just shook their heads. They didn't even try to excavate. All they could have done was dig down through hundreds of feet of rock for bodies that would have just been buried all over again. So they left them there. They left them there. They're still there now. How did they know there were 19? Neighbors and relatives from the hometowns reported them missing. Chris stares at the top of the mountain before us. Didn't they get any warning? I don't know. You'd think there'd be a warning. Maybe there was. We walked to where the ridge we are on creases inward to the start of a ravine. I see that we can follow this ravine down and eventually find water in it. I start angling down now. Some more rocks clatter up above. Suddenly I'm frightened. Chris, I say. What? You know what I think? No? What? I think we'd be very smart if we'd let the mountaintop go for now and try it another summer. He's silent, then he says, why? I have bad feelings about it. He doesn't say anything for a long time. Finally, he says, like what? Oh, I just think that we could get caught up there in a storm or a slide or something and we'd be in real trouble. More silence. I look up and see real disappointment in his face. I think he knows I'm leaving something out. Why don't you think about it, I say. And then when we get some water and we have lunch, we'll decide. We continue walking down. Okay, I say. He finally says, okay, in a non-committal voice. The descent is easy now, but I still see it will be steeper soon. It's still open and sunny here to be soon. But what? It's still open and sunny here, but soon we'll be in trees again. I don't know what to make of all this weird talk at night, except that it's not good for either of us. It sounds like all the strain of this cycling and camping and Chautauqua and all these old places has a bad effect on me that appears at night. I want to clear out of here as fast as possible. I don't suppose that sounds like the old days to Chris either. I spook very easily these days, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. He never spooked at anything. Never. That's the difference between us. That's why I'm alive and he's not. If he's up there, some psychic entity, some ghost, some doppelganger, waiting up there for us in God knows what fashion, well, he's going to have to wait a long time, a very long time. These danged heights get eerie after a while. I want to go down, way down, far, far down. To the ocean. That sounds right. Right. Where the waves roll in slowly and there's always a roar and you can't fall anywhere. You're already there. Now we enter the trees again and the sight of the mountaintop is obscured by the branches, and I'm glad. I think we've gone as far along Phaedrus's path as we want to go in this Chautauqua too. I want to leave his path now. I've given him all due credit for what he thought and said and wrote, and now I want to develop on my own some of the ideas he neglected to pursue. The title of this Chautauqua is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, not Zen and the Art of Mountain Climbing. And there are no motorcycles on the tops of mountains, and in my opinion, very little Zen. Zen is the spirit of the valley, not the mountaintop. The only Zen you find on the tops of mountains is the Zen you bring up there. Let's get out of here. Feels good to be going down, doesn't it? I say. No answer. We're going to have a little fight, I'm afraid. You go up the mountaintop and all you're going to get is a great big heavy stone tablet handed to you with a bunch of rules on it. That's about what happened to him. Thought he was a gosh dang messiah. Not me, boy. The hours are way too long and the pay is way too short. Let's go. Let's go. Soon I'm clomping down the slope in a kind of two-step idiot gallop. A good dump, a good dump, a good dump. Until I hear Chris holler, slow down, and see he is a couple of 100 yards back through the trees. Don't go hang you any good shots. Till we meet again. Love you, mean it.